Hello, welcome to this tutorial. Today I'm going to show you the simplest way to create a staircase tower. Welcome once again, I'm Morris Dimba and we'll get started right away. If you take a look on the screen right here, you'll be able to see beams and grid lines already created, but these should not be an issue as of now if you've been following this channel for quite some time now. But all the same, I'll take you through the properties and the dimensions of the grid lines. Now, for the properties of the beam, I'll just double click on one of the beam. Then these column properties will come up. Under these column properties, we have the size of the beam used here and where to get this size of the beam. So the moment you click under profile, under attributes, then scroll down to profiles, you click to the radio button just next to profile. This will take you to profile catalog of all the steel. This will take you straight to steel catalog here. Now from here you will be able to pick on the appropriate size of the steel member you want to use, and that's how I picked that under universal beams right here. So the moment you've clicked a steel beam of your size, just then come to apply and give it an OK, then go straight here and cancel that. So that will be reflected here right under the column properties. So the same you do here, just click modify, apply and OK. The beam will change, the beam size will change. Same to this. Now I'll take you to the grid line properties. This is where the dimensions of the staircase are fed prior to starting any creation of steel model. Now I'll double click on this grid line and these grid properties will come up right from this catalog dialog box. We have coordinates and z-y axis with all their measurements. Under z axis, these are the various heights used, or various heights that will be used in this staircase tower. Same reflects here. So if this is your first time and this is the first video you've bumped on, you transfer these dimensions. You just select everything here, then right click and pick copy, then paste them here and prefix with a plus sign or a positive sign on every dimension. That's all. Then just click modify and will be created. I'll close that and take you straight to staircase creation. Now if you take a look here, you can see some 4 points already created on this beam. Now this marks the height of our staircase. From zero level to this point is 1.5 meters. That is the height of our staircase, and we want now to set the length of our staircase, which is 3 meters. Now I'll pick on these points. I'll pick on the points that are necessary, that we will be using at this point. I'll press Control the moment I've picked one point. I'll press Control, then pick on this. Then I'll right click and come to special copy here. I'll come to linear right there. Then under z axis, I'll change this to 0 so that it should not interfere with our point transfer to the appropriate locations. Now when we go back to xyz axis, I want to offset these 2 points by 3 meters away from their original points. Now take a look on the x axis. It's pointing in this direction. Now we'll feed here 3 meters. We'll feed here 3 meters right here, and we'll leave it without any prefix of positive or minus sign, because the x axis is pointing in the right direction. Now we'll just go ahead and click and press copy right there. I'll go ahead and click OK. Now these 2 points have been transferred to this point, to this side at 3 meter distance. If you want to confirm that, just come to edit here, then come to measure. You click this drop down arrow under measure, then click on distance, Then we are going to confirm whether these points are have a distance of 3 meters in between them. I'll snap on that spot and snap here. So the moment I click on that, you can be able to read 3 meters, 3 meters down here. Where I'm pointing right here is 3 meters. Now I want to transfer these points now back to 0 level from this height. I'll click on that, then press Ctrl and pick on that. I'll right click and come to move spatial, then come to linear. Now from linear here, I want to transfer these points again to 0 level at a distance of 1.5, which is the height of our staircase. I'll click on that, I'll click move. It will go down right there. From there, I'll start placing my stringers. Now, prior to that, I want to create my landing. My landing will be 1 meter. I'll go back to these 2 points again while pressing my control button, then click on that. I'll right click and come to spatial copy here and click linear. Then I want to give it an offset of 1 meter, not 3 meters now. I'll give it 1 meter to give a provision for our landing. Now we are going straight to start creating our stringers. I'll come to steel here and come to steel beam. I'll click on that drop down arrow and come to poly beam. We want to create our stringers, but we want to use poly beam today. We don't want to use individual steel beam to create stringers. Just to cut down on time, we'll just work with the poly beam. I'll come to poly beam here, then I'll snap right here on this spot, then come to this spot, then go all the way to this bottom end and press my middle button on the mouse. There we are, we've created our first stringer. Then we go to the next one. I'll come to beam right here, come to poly beam, then snap right here, then snap, create my landing, snap right there, then I end at the point here at 0 level. Then I'll press my middle button right there. I've created my 2 stringers. Now I'll press my control button and hold my middle button on the mouse to turn this round. Just zoom out. Reason being, I want to position these stringers in the right points. Now this stringer is facing the right direction. I want to change or rotate this stringer to face this end. I'll double click on it. This will bring these beam properties where we'll be able to change the position and the size of the beam of this stringer. Now I'll come to position, then come to rotation here. I'll be able to pick on below just to turn over this. I'll click modify. Now I'll give it top. Top is the appropriate rotation for this, and is the right position we want to use. There we are, it has rotated itself. Now I'll press control button and hold my middle button on the mouse and turn this round and check the position of this stringer. The next, I want to create the second flight. The second flight, I'll come here. I'll click on these 2 points. I'll press control once again. Then I'll come to a spatial copy, come to linear and give it an offset of 1 meter again to create our landing. I'll click on that, then give it an OK. From here now, I want to again pick on these 4 points. Click on that. I'll press control and pick on these points. And I want to give them an offset of 3 meters. Not really an offset of 3 meters. I want to give it an offset of 1 meter up, 1.5 meters up. Then I'll come here and spatial copy. I'll come to linear, click on linear. Then I'll change this x-axis to 0. Then I want to work with z-axis. I'll feed my 1.5 meter here. Then click on copy, There we are. I'll click on that, right click and come to interrupt. Then I want to transfer this point again to this end. I'll click on these 4 points once again and pick on this. I'll right click to invoke the copy command and pick it from this point and transfer everything here. There we are. Now if I press Ctrl and hold my middle button on the mouse, I'll be able to turn this around like this. Now since I want to create another flight here, so I'll require another beam to support that flight or the 2 stringers. I'll click on this beam and right click and come to special copy and give it an offset of 1.5 meter once again, and click on that and click OK. Right click and interrupt. Now these 2 points will be now useless for us. Now we'll just pick on one of them and delete, and click on that and delete that. Let me turn this around. There we are. Here again we want to create the landing first. Pick on that, then right click and come to special copy. We want to create an offset of 1 meter to provide or to allocate our landing dimensions. I'll click on special copy. I'll now change the z-axis to 0, then I'll come to the x-axis, but our movement now is on the opposite direction of the x-axis. What I'll do now, I'll prefix my dimension with a negative sign there and feed my 1 meter right there, then click copy, right click and interrupt just to end that copy command. Now I've created this flight. Now I'll come back to beam right here. I'll come to polybeam. I'll come to one of these points right there and come to that point. Then I'll snap on this end and create another landing at this end. Then press my middle button on the mouse. That has been created, and I'll go back once again and do just the same thing. I'll come to beam. I'll come to polybeam. Then zoom closer just to bring the points I'm targeting closer. Snap on that spot. Then I'll snap on this to create our landing in the first place. Then snap right here. Then snap right here. Press my middle button to wind up the creation of the stringers. Now I'll press my middle button and turn this around like this. If you bring it closer, you'll find that the stringer is clashing with this, meaning it has not positioned itself in the right position allocated for itself. Now if you turn this, you'll find that it is moving more on this side. I'll double click on this stringer, then I'll press left button on the mouse and drag this dialog box on the side so that I can be able to see this clearly. Now I'll come to position here under beam properties. Then I'll come to position. Under position I'll pick on plane box, and under the drop down arrow I'll click on the drop down arrow, then give it a left move. I'll move it on that direction. I'll give it apply and OK. Then I'll come back to this stringer on this end. You can see this is not the appropriate position because we will not be able to place our gratings properly. Now I have to rotate these two so that we can be able to see the back of this stringer. I'll double click on it, then come to position and turn this, give it a below rotation. There we are. I'll click apply and accept that. Now here we are, and we want to create another flight from here so that we get started with creation of the gratings for our threads. We'll come here again. We'll come on these points again, click on the points, click on these points here, click on that, and we want to give now an offset of 3 meters, not 1.5. We'll come here and come to special copy and give a linear. Under linear, we'll change the x-axis to 0. Now the axis will feed 3 meters here, and click OK, apply and accept. We'll also transfer this beam up so that our next flight should find a supporting beam. I'll right click and come to special copy here and give an offset of this beam a 3 meter offset. I'll come to these 2 points again, click on that, then right click and come to special copy, linear. I'll change this Z axis to 0, then I'll be working with the X axis. I'll give it an offset of 1 meter and click OK right there. Right click and come to interrupt, just wind up that copy command. We'll do the same thing here, press that, select that, right click and come to special copy and come to linear and just do the same, but will be in the opposite direction. Now we'll prefix this 1 meter with a minus sign or negative sign and click copy, right click and accept that by clicking OK, and also right clicking, then click interrupt. Interrupt gives you an exit door to the active command. Now I'll come to beams here. I'll click polybeam, then snap on this point, snap on that spot, then snap here, then snap here. Press your middle button on the mouse to wind up that command. Then come back to beams again to do the same thing. I'll snap right here and snap right here and snap on this spot. To make sure we are landing on the right position, we'll turn this round so that we can snap on this position accurately, then zoom out and in and wind up on that spot. Press your middle button on the mouse to clear off with the command. Now we want to reposition this by rotating it to the right position. I'll double click on this, then this will bring these beam properties. I'll come to position and change this to top and click modify, accept, and we'll give it an OK. I'll right click to interrupt just to exit from that command. Here we are now. Here we are. Now if I press this, I'll be able to rotate this comfortably. Now I want to get rid of these points. Now what I'll do, I'll right click and come to redraw, and redraw will do away with all these points, because the points are just to guide us in creating the stringers or the flights or for our staircase tower. Now once we are done with these flights, because these flights will assist us a lot when we want now to make work simple, we'll just copy them right away to the height we want. Now we are going to step to another step. We want to create the treads, and our treads and landing will be gratings, and to create gratings should not be a very big thing to do or a difficult thing to do. Now first of all, we want to place the base plate for our stringers. I'll come to applications and component here, then I'll type stair. I'll type stair here. This will bring the appropriate macro that we'll be using it to create the base plate for our stringers. I'll type staircase appropriately. Then I'll scroll down. I'll click inside this box and scroll down and pick on staircase detail 1032. I'll pick on that. First of all, double click on that just to bring this dialog box where I'll be able to use my customized connections. I'm using the base plate. This one I created myself, and you can also create a connection type, then save it. Click save and give it a name. Create savers and give it a name. Now I'll come to standards here and then pick this one. Then I'll come to load, just to load my settings right there. This is simple. You can create your own. So I'll click modify prior to invoking that command here. So once I've done that, I'll click on this, then give it the position I want, and click on that and give it a position I want right there. I'll right click just to exit that connection type. I'll close this base plate connection, and I'll close this dialog box, applications and component dialog box here, because it is now an obstruction to our work. I'll press Control and hold my middle button on the mouse, and I'll turn this comfortably like this. Perfect. I'll right click. I'll click on empty screen, then right click and come to redraw to refresh and remove these active macro signs. Turn this like this. Now from here I want to start placing my threads, and prior to doing anything we want to save our work. I'll come to save here and click save. There we are, and we get started on the thread creation. I'll bring this close and I want to start it. If I turn this right this, you can see our connection, our base plate is right below zero level. Now I'll come to edit right here. I'll come to points, and a point I'll come to at any position, then I'll snap at this spot and run all the way to this end to make sure it is on a straight line. And I'll do another thing here. I'll come to points, then click on that drop down arrow, then come to any position. I'll snap on this position right here and I'll go all the way to this end. Snap right there. Now I'll copy one of these points. I'll pick on this, then hold this point from this end. I'll hold it from this end, then check it to this spot. You can see the point is there, aligned properly. Then I want to transfer the same point here. I'll click on this, right click and come to copy and pick it from that spot, and I'll bring it to that spot. Right click and exit. Now I want to first of all create our thread support or thread anchors. Now I'll come to steel here, I'll come to steel beam here and pick beam, and I want our support start from that end and run all the way to that end. I'll right click and interrupt just to give me a position on how I can change the size of this steel member. I'll double click on that, then come to attributes, then under attributes I'll come to profile. Next to profile I come to select. This will take us to the catalog, steel catalog, where we'll be able to select on the appropriate steel size under this catalog dialog box. Here we want to use an angle line, RSA. I'll come to L profiles here. I'll pick on that. Then I'll come to RSA right here, and I want to use the 65 by 50 by 5 millimeter thick. Then I'll click on that. Then I'll give it a node here and give it an acceptance button right there. Then I'll come here and do the same thing under beam properties. I'll click modify. The moment you click modify, will change everything, and from here we can only work on the positioning of this particular steel member to sit right in the right position. Now I'll come to position right here. Then I'll come to rotation. I'll click on that drop down arrow. Then from these 4 options, I'll pick on one option just to change this steel to the appropriate position. Now I'll start with top. I'll click on top. I'll click on the back, and that is the right position we want to work with. I'll click apply and accept. Now from here we want to place our bolts. I'll press Control and turn this round to check whether this is positioning itself in the right position. And if we don't need any excess or any protrusion here, what we'll do, we'll trim off this end. And to trim this, we'll use some points just to guide us guide us when we want to trim off unnecessary protrusion of any steel member. I'll come to edit here and come to points. I'll pick at any position here, and I want to snap right there and allocate a point right here. Let me just bring it closer and allocate a point right here. I'll locate a point and bring it close. I'll locate a point right there. Right click just to exit from that point command. Now I want to trim off this part. I'll add another point just to ensure that our trimming will be error free. Now I'll come to edit, and edit I'll come to polygon cut. I'll click on the part I want to trim off, and I want to use a polygon cut option under edit. I'll click on that, I'll snap on that spot and snap right here and come to my initial spot, and that will be trimmed off. I'll right click and redraw just to get rid of these points. I'll press my control button and holding my milled button on the mouse, and I want to bolt this part here. This is where the threads will be sitting on, or will be supported from. Now with guidance of points, I want to place my bolts here. I'll click on online points, then bring this close. I'll snap right here and snap right here. This will give me a midpoint of this member. Then I'll do the same thing. I'll pick on this, and transfer this point the other end. What I'll do, I'll just right click and come to copy and press Ctrl and turn this up. Now I want to transfer this point to the other end. I'll copy it from that spot and take it all the way to this end. I'll snap right here, right click and exit that point copy command. Then I'll come to still here just to access the bolts. I'll click on that bolt command. Then from there I'll click on the parts I want to connect. Then press the space button on the keyboard. Then first of all I'll pick on the parts I want to connect. I want to connect this part to this part. I'll click on that. Then I'll press my space bar on the keyboard. Then I'll give instruction on where the boltings should start. I want my bolting to start from this spot. I'll snap on that spot and go all the way in a straight line to this spot while pressing my space bar. I'll click on that. I'll right click and exit. You'll see my bolt has been placed, but in a wrong position and just in a wrong way. I'll double click on that to change the bolting. I'll come to position here and change the position to back. Still in the wrong position. I'll give it a top position. There we are, and still not in the appropriate part to be connected. From here I'll give it an offset of 40 millimeter. I'll click on that. There we are. It has moved, but still slightly away from where we want it to be. Give it an offset. Still we give it a 60 millimeter offset. There we are, and the size of the bolt will change this to M16. M16 will be okay, and click OK. Then a bolt is just not enough. We'll add 2 of them now, and we'll come to bolt distance axis, and we'll feed here 2 of this at a distance of 100. We'll feed 2, or just we'll feed 1, and at a distance of 100 millimeter, and click modify. We'll give an offset of another 40 meters here. We'll give it 100 offset, and that is the right position we want. And we'll go ahead and click modify and apply, and that's okay. Now I'll come to press control, then press my middle button on the mouse, holding both of them, and I'll be able to turn this. Now from here I want to mirror this to this stringer, and to do that I'll turn this and use these base plates as my midpoint to mirror these parts I want to transfer to this end stringer. we'll create some points just to guide us. I'll come to point under edit. I'll pick on online and snap on that spot, then snap on this end. I'll snap on this end right here and come again and snap on the bottom end here and snap on the bottom end here. I'll right click and interrupt, just exit from that copy command. Now I want to change my work plane. I'll come to view here and come to work plane tool here. Then I'll place my plane right here. I'll snap that end. I'll right click and come to interrupt. Now with placement of the work plane tool here, will now allow our mirror to be simply transferred to the point we want it to be transferred to. Now I'll pick on the parts we want to mirror. I'll pick on the bolt, then pick on the part connected to the stringer. I'll press Control button, then rotate that. Now I want to invoke the mirror command. Then I'll come to right click and come to special copy, then come to mirror right here and click mirror. I'll bring it closer, then unsnap in these 2 points right here and right here. I'll click copy, then give it an OK, right click and interrupt just to get off that copy command. So when I turn this round, we'll be able to see everything has been transferred to this end. I'll right click, I'll click on empty screen and right click and redraw that. Now I'll take my work plane tool to its default position. I'll click on work plane tool and view command, then I'll click on that drop down arrow. This will take me to these options. Then I'll pick on the first option, work plane tool, then take this work plane tool to its default position right there. Then I'll right click and come to interrupt. Once I'm done with that, I want to use these now to create my threads. Now I'll come to steel here. I'll come to steel beam, then I'll pick on steel beam and I'll pick on the beam right there, and I want to start creating my thread right here. I'll place a member right there, right click, and I want to change this to plate or steel bar. I'll double click on the member, then these beam properties will come from here. I'll be able to pick on the right steel member. I'll come to select. This will bring the catalog dialog box. Now here we are, and the steel dialog box just coming or loading. We'll go straight, or we'll minimize that. We'll go straight to plate profiles down here. We have bolted, we have hard plates, we have folded plates, we have plate profiles here. I'll come here and click on the plus sign, and a plus sign adjacent to plate profiles here, and this will give us a breakdown of steel bars are available here. I'll pick on the PLT or the plate, then accept that. Prior to doing that, we want to change, we want to give it a standard size of the plate bar of our preference. We want to give it 50 millimeter by 10. Give it 50, then come here and change this to 10 millimeter, then come here and apply and accept. Once you've done that, come to beam properties here and do the same thing by clicking modify, and come here and click apply. And prior to clicking apply, we want to change the position of this bar, steel bar. We'll come to position here and turn this to top. Perfect, but still in the middle. We come to at depth here, then click drop down arrow and give it a behind position. Click that, which is not the right position. We'll come to give it a top position right here. We want it to sit right on the top of this thread support. Now and on plane we'll come to left position and click on that, apply and accept. We'll do the same thing here. We want to copy this to the other end, and what we'll do, we'll just click on this and right click and come to copy, then we'll press Ctrl and turn this, right click, then we'll snap right at the bottom of that bar, then we'll turn this to a position we can see clearly, then bring it close to this spot right here. Perfect. Right click and exit. Exit means you right click, click interrupt. Interrupt will wind up the command action. Now I'll come to beam right here again. I'll click on this, and I want to create another steel member right here from this spot to this spot right here. Perfect. This is not the right position for what we want to do, or for what we are creating. We'll come to beam, we'll click on beam right here. We want to start right from this spot, right from that spot, and we'll run away run all the way to this end. The previous option was the appropriate one. We'll come back right there and snap right here, come all the way and snap right here. It's not coming up, it has gone in the wrong direction. We'll come up here and do the same thing. We want to snap right here and zoom out and target this spot here, right here. Right click and exit. Then we'll double click on this, then we'll come to position, we'll give it a left position, we'll click apply, then we'll come down here and click behind, then that is the right position we intend this to be on. Apply and accept. We leave it still selected. I'll right click and come to copy, then snap on this spot and run all the way to this end and snap it here. Let's check the position we are moving to. We're moving to this position. We'll snap right there, right click and exit. Remember to save your work on every step you make. Now from here we want to populate this member in this direction at 50mm interval. Now prior to doing that, we want to confirm this distance from this end to this end. We'll come to edit, and edit, from edit we can access the measure command. Then we click on distance. We want to check this distance from there to here to this end. We'll snap right here. This is 1026. Now 1026 you divide by 50. How many do we want? Probably we can get around 19 of them. Now I'll right click and come to special copy here and click linear. And prior to invoking any command, check the direction or the position of the XYZ axis. Now we want to offset this on XYZ axis here, but will be on the opposite direction, so our measurement will be prefixed with a negative sign. Now I'll press a negative sign there and type the distance I want, which is 50mm, and prior to doing that we want to test if the gap it will leave will be appropriate for our grating. I'll click, then that will be alright. I'll click OK, then come to undo. I'll come back here and click on that, right click and come to special copy. I'll click on that, and now we want to duplicate, we want to add several of these. We'll give it 18 copies right there and come to copy, accept and interrupt just to proceed with the same thing. Click on that, right click and come to special copy, click on that, and I need now just one of these. I'll click copy, there we are, and click OK. Right click and exit by clicking interrupt. I'll come to control and press my middle button on the mouse and turn this round like this. I'll be able to turn this round, and I want to create another steel member here, but this time it will be a circular section which will be running from this end to this end. I'll come to steel here, I'll come to steel beam, I'll pick on that, then I'll come right here and run all the way to this end. Run all the way to this end. I'll snap right here. Right click, and what we've done can be seen. Just click on this and give it an offset of 50 millimeter. Right click and give it an offset of 50 millimeter. Now we'll just give it a move command. Click on that. Then we'll change the Z axis to 0. Then we check, prior to invoking the copy command, the position of our XYZ axis. We want to work with the Y axis, but the Y axis is pointing the opposite direction of our move. Now we'll prefix this 50 millimeter distance with a negative sign. We'll type 50 millimeter, then click on that, click OK, right click and interrupt that. Now I'll double click on this again to change this to a circular section. I'll come to this button and click on this. This will take us to steel catalog dialog box. Here we are. It has been loaded. Now from here we'll pick on the circular section, not hollow section. I'll click on this plus sign adjacent to circular section. We'll click on that. We've used a lot of circular hollow section, that's why I'm always preferring the circular hollow section. Then I'll come to rod. The rod size will be 50 or will be 30. We'll make it 30. Make it 30. Make sure what the settings or the dimension you're feeding for your steel profiles must be available in the market. That's key, because you can make something that when it comes to procurement you cannot find the steel sizes you used in creating your model. Now I'll come here and click apply and accept. Once I've done that, I'll come here and do the same thing under beam properties. I'll click modify. 30 is too big. I'll give it 20. 20 will be okay, and this will be locally available. I'll click on that. I'll click on that. I'll apply. I'll click apply and accept. Now I'll press my middle button on the mouse, and I want to populate this in this direction, in the direction of Y-axis, but the opposite direction. I'll right click here and come to special copy here and click linear. Then I want to populate I want a number of this. I want 6 of this. I'll click copy, which is in the wrong direction. I'll click undo, and I want to work with the Y-axis, not the X-axis. I'll prefix this with 50 millimeter, and I need 6 of these. There we are. There's an excess of 1. I'll click OK, right click and exit. Now I'll click on this and get rid of that. Now we've created our grating right here. We've created our grating right here. Now I'll click this and this. I want to bring them slightly up. Click on this. Click on that. Then press my middle button here. And this okay. They will be running through these steel bars. Just bringing this closer. Perfect. This is our grating for now. Now what we want to do, there's an excess member there. Now what we want to do, we'll select we'll select all this. Press Ctrl and select this. Select everything we want to copy or we want to be copied, or we want to assemble this thread as one thing or as a unit. I'll press Ctrl and select all this. I'll select all this. I'll select that. I'll select that. I'll right click and come to add to assembly. I want to add this to this assembly. I want to make that as an assembly right there while pressing. So when I come to my keyboard and press Alt and pick any of this, you'll see this is selecting as a unit plus the connection down here. I'll come to this. If I turn this round, you'll see also this has been selected, properly connected. You can turn this and show you properly. This is now one unit. This is now one unit. Let me just turn this properly so that you can see clearly. Turn this and turn this. Now if I press Alt and pick on any part, and pick on the thread, you'll see the whole thread is selected. Perfect. There we are. Let me see that everything has been selected perfectly. Now we want to populate this along the stringer. Now we are remaining with creating this and creating the landing. Now the rest will be just a matter of copying to the rest of the flights. Now I want to change the position of my XY axis. I'll come to view here. I'll come to work plane tool, then click on that stringer just to give an orientation of where we intend to populate our stringers, our threads. I'll right click and end that copy command. Then I'll come to Alt and select all this. Now our riser height will be, I want to use a 300. I'll right click that. I'll come to a special copy here and click linear. Then I'll change this to 0. We want to work with the X axis. Type there 300, and how many do we want? We want 6 of these. 6 of these, and I'll go straight away and click copy and wait for the result. We've copied the 6, and we want to add some here. Let's undo everything so that we correct where we've come from. I'll press Alt here and right click and come to special copy, and this time round we'll type 7 here. We'll just type 7 of them and click copy. Right, there we are. Right click and exit. We've copied 7, and don't forget to save your work. Now what we want to do, we want to create a thread here. We want to create gratings for our landing. We want to create threads for our landing. What we're going to do, we want to create the points first. We'll come to points right here and come to at any position, and we want to we want this beam to give us a guidance. We'll press Alt, we'll press Control, then we'll hover our cursor on that corner, then we'll snap at any position right here, then we'll snap right here. Then we'll come to edit, and still under position, still I'll come to at any position, then snap on that spot and snap on that spot. Right click and exit. Then we want to, this is the point we wanted to be located with an offset away from the edge of the beam. Now we want another point here, but we'll be protruding with some few millimeters. We'll click on the points and then click here, then we'll snap right here. Once we've done that, We'll come back to the same point and click on that. We'll right click and come to special, move, then come to linear. We want to move this with some few millimeters in the direction of, in the appropriate direction. And prior to doing that, we want to bring back our X, Y, Z axis to a default position. Now we'll come to work plane tool here and just snap on top of that member. Now we'll click on this spot, right click and come to special, move special, then come to the right axis. We'll zoom out just to check on the right axis. We'll come to X axis, but it will be in the opposite direction. We want that to move with a 50 millimeter in the opposite direction. Click on move. Perfect. Click accept, and that will be okay. Now we want to transfer these points to this end. Simple as this. We'll just click on this, press Ctrl, click on that, right click and come to copy. Then we'll copy it from this position to this position here. Just bring this to this position here, right there. Right click and exit. Now these 4 points will be guiding us in creating the stringer. I mean the grating for our landing. Now I'll come back. I want to default on this steel size member. Now I'll double click on it, then come to modify and beam properties. I'll click modify, apply, and okay. That will make that as a default steel member. So whenever I create any steel member, this will be created to a length of my preference. Now I'll come to steel here. I'll come to steel beam right there. I'll click on steel beam, then I'll snap right here. Then what I'll do, I'll just come. I'll come here. I'll come to beam right there and snap right there. I'll snap right here. I'll snap right here. No, I'm not using the poly beam. I thought, poly beam is a continuous one. Now, once I've done this, I'll click on this, right click and come to copy. Then I want to copy this from this spot. I'll zoom out and locate it here. I'll locate it in that position. Then I'll do the same thing by creating other steel bar. I'll come to steel beam right there and I'll snap right here. Snap, run all the way to this end, and I'll be creating my steel bar right there. I'll copy this member to the other end by clicking and right clicking, and I'll pick it from this position right here, from this position, and I'll take it to this end. I'll press Ctrl and turn this to a position I'll be able to see properly. I'll snap right here. Perfect. Now if I turn this round, you can see that has been created perfectly and not clashing with any part of our steel member, with any part of our grating. Now having this already selected, and we want to populate this along this direction, I'll just select it. Once it has been selected, I'll come to special copy here and click linear. I want to populate this along this length. And how many do we want? We want 50 millimeter offset, but in the right direction of the x-axis. How many do we want? We want several of these, close to 20, and click copy right there. If you bring this closer, you'll be able to see what has been created. This has been created. Now we'll get rid of this. There's no need of placing that on that end. Now remember to save your work. Always save your work. Then we'll come to this end. We'll come here. We'll come to this member and double click on this circular section member, then click modify, apply and accept, just to default on it if we intend to create a steel member of the same size. So instead of feeding the dimensions, that will be our default member creation, steel member creation. Then I'll snap right here, and run all the way to this end. I'll snap right here. Remember, we are creating gratings for our landing. Now I want to offset this by 50 millimeter. I'll right click, I'll click on that and click move. In what direction? In the y-axis direction. Now we'll change the x-axis to 0, then give an offset of 50 millimeter right here. We'll click. It is a negative sign, it is a negative move. We'll click on that. Then from there, we'll give it an OK, right click, and come back to now to populating it along this length. We'll come to special copy here and click linear. I'll zoom it in, then feed the appropriate number of our offset, but in the wrong direction. Here we want to change this to negative 50. How many do we want? We want close to 19. It will be okay. We'll click OK right there. Apply and accept. Let's move. If there is any excess, click on that and delete, and press Ctrl and turn this round to see if there is any excess member created. Now we want to use this. We'll use this support, thread supporting L-shaped member. We'll click on that, right click and come to, we'll click on this and right click and come to copy. Click on copy, and we want to copy it from this corner. Remember, I've not selected the alt. If you pick on alt, we'll select everything. Now we want this be supported right at the bottom here. Just turn that, and we'll want to snap right at the bottom here. Snap it right there, and I think the bolts are in place. And we want to offset these, or we don't want this now. We'll delete that. We'll click on this, and we want this to be copied on this direction by 500 or 700 millimeter. Right click that, then come to special copy. Will come to linear right there. Then we'll move it down on the axis. Change that, not moving it down. We'll on the same axis. We'll prefix that dimension with a negative sign of 600 millimeter. We need just one of these. Just type 1 and click copy in that direction. If you right click and exit that copy command and turn this round, we'll be able to see it has been copied, though. We'll rectify that. We'll click undo, so that we click on that, right click on that, right click and come to special copy, then give it a linear. Then in this direction, we want to change this dimension to 500 millimeter and give it a copy command. Let's see whether it has moved. It hasn't moved at all, so that should not be a very big issue. We'll rectify this just right now. The x-axis is pointing the right direction, though we placed it in the opposite direction, which is not right. I'll right click once again and invoke the same command. I'll come to linear, then under y-axis we'll change 0, then feed 600 here, we'll click copy, apply and accept. Now we can check on what has been done. I'll press control button, and you can be able to see that already copied in this part or in this section. Now we want to mirror the same to this end for the support of our thread here. Thread here, I'll click on that, click on that. Now I want to, this is our grating and this is the support for our gratings. Now I'll press control to turn this round, and prior to that I want to mirror them. And to invoke the mirror command for the parts we want to change, or we want to reorient our y axis. I'll come to view, I'll come to work plane tool here and click on work plane. Then I'll place my work plane tool right here, so that when I'm invoking the copy command, it will not be such a big confusion on where to copy what I intend to copy. Now I've done that. Now I'll right click here, having selected the members I want to mirror. I'll right click and come to special copy and scroll to mirror. Then I want to use this part as my mirror line. I'll pick on the midpoint of this member right here and snap right here and snap at the bottom here. Then you can see the angle of mirror is 90. Then come here and click OK. After clicking copy, I'll click interrupt just to wind up the copy command. And if you take a look here, let's see whether we've copied it. Yes, we've copied everything here, and it is at the bottom end here. So this will be supporting the grating for our landing. Now we want to take it slightly down. After assembling all this as one unit, I'll select everything here. Once I've selected everything here, I want to make sure every individual is assembled. Pick on this, pick on this, pick on this, pick on that. I'll zoom out and pick on this. I'll zoom out and select all this while pressing the control button on the mouse and click on that. I'll also bring this here, click on that, and click on this. Now I'll press my control button once again and turn to the bottom end of this thread and select the members I want to include in my assembly. I want to include all these to my assembly. I'll press that so that I can access the parts I want to include in my assembly by pressing the control button while holding my milled button on the mouse. Click on that and click on that. Now from this point, I'll right click and come to add to assembly. I'll click on add to assembly and add it to any part, to any member here. I'll click, I want to add it to that member. And that's it. I'll click on empty screen. So whenever I press Alt and pick on any of these member, everything will be selected as a unit or as an assembly. Now when I come to press Control and holding my milled button on the mouse, I'll be able to turn this round. And if I click on empty screen, you'll be able to see this has been selected perfectly well. Then from here, I'll take everything. I'll take the work plane tool to a default position by coming to work plane tool and clicking work plane, drop down arrow, click on that. Then we'll take it to a default position right here, right at the bottom end here, and right click and come to interrupt just to close down that. Don't forget to save your work right at that corner. Then I'll turn this round like this. Perfect. That has been created. Now I want to copy this to this end. So I'll press Alt, though we'll change some slight dimension. We'll delete everything up to this end. Now I'll press Alt and select everything right there. And I'll come I'll right click and click copy, then snap at this spot, not the right position. I want to pick it in the right position, so I'll use this part as my guide. Now I'll come to points here, I'll come to edit. Under edit, I'll come to points, I'll come to at any position, then I'll snap right here, then bring it right there. Now I'll use this as my guidance, as my guiding point. Now I'll come back to Alt and pick the parts I want to copy. I'll right click and come to copy, then I'll move it from this point, then take it all the way in a straight position. I take it all the way to this position right here. That position right there. I've copied that, and there is unwanted still member here which you don't want to see. I'll turn this around just to see it clearly. Just to see it clearly. That is the right. That is the unwanted member. I'll come here and turn this round like this. Perfect. Though this video will take you a little bit of time, but what we're creating is perfect, and any learner, any person too green in Tekla structures can follow this step by step and come up with a similar thing without any issue. So this is the landing, and we want to give it an offset. We want to give it an offset slightly down. We'll press Alt and come here, right click and come to special move, linear. In the z-axis, or I mean on the z-axis, we'll give it a 50, negative 50, and that will be the move we'll be taking. That's it. That's moved down 50 millimeter. Now it is flashing with this part. Now if you take a look down here, there are some parts that have not moved. Now the bolts have not moved. We'll click on the bolts, click on bolts. What we'll do, we'll undo everything. Then we'll press Alt here, then pick on the bolts, here. We'll press Alt, then we'll press Control and pick on the bolts. We'll turn this end, pick on the bolts first, turn this, and we'll pick on the bolts. We'll go step by step so that you get a proper guidance of everything. I'll right click and come to special move. Then I'll first of all give an offset of 50 millimeter for the bolts. Then is when I can highlight everything here by pressing Alt here and select on that, so that I can give another offset move of 50 millimeter offset right there. It's not appropriate, and that is not the best way. I'll click cancel and do that. Bolts are part of the assembly of this thread. I'll go ahead and click interrupt and come back again and press Alt and pick everything there. Pick everything. Then I'll right click and come to special move and click linear and give an offset right there. Now everything has been moved plus the bolts. I'll right click and press hold control while pressing my middle button, and you can see this has been already moved, and it's flashing with the top landing perfectly. We'll do a similar thing here, but as you can see, there's a slight clash here. There's a slight clash here, which will be rectified just right now. And what we'll do, we'll just click on this, and then right click. Prior to invoking any move, we'll make sure we've not selected any inappropriate member. Right click, or not the right member. I'll click on move special, then come to linear. I want to change this to 0, and I want to check on the y-axis. I want to feed here 100, but on a negative direction. I'll feed that and click on that. It's not moving the right direction. I'll undo that and come to control, and I'll come to work plane tool right here, and come to work plane tool. I want to change the XYZ position here. And which direction we want to head to? We want to head to the y-axis. We want to offset this to this spot. I'll click on this and right click and click move special. Click on that. Then on the y-axis, I'll feed 100 millimeter. Then zoom out and check, and I mean to confirm if we are moving the right direction. Then I'll click move. First of all, you can select the object to be cut. We want to cut this object, and the cutting part is this one. So we've trimmed this part. Now we want to populate the same thing. We'll delete that. We'll refresh everything by clicking on empty screen like that. And now we want to trim this part. We want to actually remove this part. We'll come to polygon and click on this member, and we want to trim this by polygon cut. We'll go that way and snap right here and snap right here. This will be removed, and if you right click and redraw, that part will be gone. Now instead of doing this thing all the way, we want to delete all these members. We'll press Ctrl and click on these members, and we'll delete everything. We want to delete all these members. We'll delete all these members. We'll press Ctrl and select everything here. Delete this, delete that. Make sure we delete everything we don't want to use, or anything that is clashing with our requirements. We delete that, we'll delete that, we'll delete that, we'll delete that, delete that one, we'll delete that one, we delete that one. Perfect. Now how many do we want here? We want 19 of these. We'll click on that, right click and come to special copy here and click linear. And in what direction? Make sure you know the direction we are populating any part of the steel member. We will populate this on the x-axis direction, but it will be on the opposite direction. Now we'll come to x-axis here and feed up a negative sign. Then we'll feed 50 millimeter. How many do you want? We want 19 of these. We'll come here and invoke that command. Perfect. I'll click OK. Right click and accept that. Then we come here and check whether there's any protrusion of any part. Then right click and redraw. There we are. We've done that. Then turn this round. There's no any clash, member clashing. What we'll do now, we'll get rid of this because there's a clash there. Right click and come to special copy. Click on copy. Then snap right here, and we'll snap at the corner here, right there. Then click on empty screen right here and redraw. Then we'll try if our assembly is still active. We'll press Alt, and then when you click on one of these, you see it's not, the assembly is not active anymore. So we have to reassemble everything back to the previous position. Now we'll just take this to a position that we'll be able to select everything appropriately, and this one is not the right thing we want to do, or the right thing we want to see. We'll delete that unwanted member, and we'll select all this. Press Control and make sure you pick on the members you want to include in your assembly. Our assembly has been broken by modifying part of our assembly, so everything has been disintegrated. Now every part is individually in its position. Now we are selecting all these now to bring everything under one unit or under one assembly. Now we are selecting this just to unify everything, to make things easy when doing or when creating drawings. When creating assembly drawings and fabrication drawings, work will become a simple thing even to imagine of. We are going to copy this end. Now what we'll do, we've included this also into our assembly. We'll also include this into our assembly. Then we'll right click and click add to assembly, and we'll add it to any part of this member. Click on empty screen. Then the moment you press Alt, this is what you'll be able to see. But there's something wrong here. We've not brought these members to the right positions where they become members of this, and that should not be a problem. What we'll do, we just get rid of this by clicking on them and deleting them away. Click this and delete. What we're going to do, we are going to select these members here. Click on that, you select everything, click on that member, click on this member, click on this member, press Control and click on this member. Then we want to change the position of our work plane tool. I'll come to view here and come to work plane tool here, and we want to reorient our work plane tool. We'll hover our cursor just to the plane we want. Right click and interrupt. It is in this plane. Now we are going to use the middle point of this bar as our mirror line. Having selected the member we want to be mirrored on this end, we'll go straight away and right click and come to Spatial Copy and come to Mirror. Then hover again our cursor along this member to find the midpoint. This orange triangle indicates the midpoint of any member. I'll snap on that spot, then go right at the bottom here and snap on another midpoint, then click right there. You'll see the angle setting itself to 90, but in the opposite direction. Click copy and give it an OK. The bell you're hearing now is an indication of a command that has been invoked. And has winded up in a particular position. It has been copied right here, and this is what actually we wanted to do. Now we want this to go slightly deep at the bottom, so what we'll do, we just press Alt and make sure everything has been selected by turning this round. Check on the parts you want also to be moved down. Now these parts hasn't been included in the assembly. We'll click on this, press Control, click on that, then press Control again and select this member by pressing Control and click this member. Then right click and come to Add to Assembly. We want to add to this assembly everything right there. Perfect. Then click on Empty Screen. Then when you come back to Alt and confirm that everything will be selected under one assembly, then we'll want to offset this slightly down at a distance of 50 millimeter. But now we'll right click and come to Spatial Copy, then come to Linear, then under linear, now we'll follow this axis. We'll not work with the Z axis, we'll follow this axis. Now we'll change that to 0, then we'll feed -50 millimeter down, that is not the right. We'll come here, move, special move linear, under Y, negative 50 millimeter, then you click move. It has moved down, right click and bring it closer. You can see that has been created. Or you can right click and come to that and redraw. You can see that already created. This is what we intended to create and to make our work so easy. So you can see how our thread is coming. Our staircase is coming with very neat threads already created. So the next thing we are going to do, we want to copy this thread here. We want to copy this thread here, this landing here. Right click and come to copy. We'll pick it from this position. Press Ctrl. And we want to copy this one here. There we are. Right click and come to redraw to make sure that part is in its position, sitting right there. We'll do the same thing here. We'll locate the midpoint here. We'll come to edit. We'll come to points, any position. We'll press Ctrl and pick bottom end here. Just hover your cursor to make sure you're snapping at the edge of this. Snap right here, then snap on the edge of this beam, then snap on the straight position, snap right there. We want the midpoint of this. Then we'll snap that part and snap here. Right click and come to interrupt. Now we want to pick this member by pressing Alt. Right click and come to copy. Pick it from this position. Press Ctrl. And you want to hold it and take it right here. Take it right here. Let's see whether it will work out, and it will snap right there. Perfect. Now turn this round like this. There's a slight issue. There's a protrusion on this end, which is 50 millimeter, and that will be given an offset by pressing the Alt here. So we'll right click and come to special move here and give it a linear. Now the direction of our offset should be at Z-axis. Now under Z-axis we'll give it a negative offset of 50 millimeter, and it will move that slightly in front. We've done that without deselecting this. We'll undo. Then we'll click on empty screen just to deselect this. Then we'll come back to this part. We'll click on that member, then right click and come to special move, click linear, then we'll invoke that command. We'll move it slightly in front by 50 millimeter. And again we can do the same. We can invoke it by 50 millimeter. 50 millimeter. Perfect. Apply and accept. We've done that perfectly well. Here we are, and we can save that. So if you change the view, if you come to view and click the top view, this is what you'll be able to see. Let's just switch back to where we were before. Now we want to start placing our threads. Placing threads should not be a very big issue. We'll start right here. We'll come here. We'll come to edit right here. We'll come to points and come to any any position right here. I'll snap right here. I'll snap right here. Then I'll change my work plane tool. I'll click on this stringer. Make sure my axis is aligned with this stringer. I'll click on that, right click and exit. Then I'll come to this point. I'll click on that spot, right click and give it a copy command of 300. Which direction? The X axis. Now I'll feed 300 right there. I just need 1. I'll click copy right there and click OK. Now from here I want to locate a member here. I want to copy a thread and bring it to that position. Now I'll come to the bottom end here. Come to the bottom end here, and I want to pick this thread because we'll be using the same size. The size of the thread will not change. Now I'll press Alt. I'll press Alt and turn this round. Now I want to pick it from this position. I want to pick it from this position, which has not been marked out. Now I need a guidance here. I'll come to points. I'll click on points right here and come to points. Then I'll pick on the and I'll snap. I'll just create a point there and create another point. You just hold my cursor right here to locate a point. Just hold my cursor right there to locate a point. That point. Then I'll come back again and pick that option, then snap on that spot, then zoom out and snap on this spot. Right click and click interrupt just to be off or to get off that copy command. Now I'll press Alt, then I'll right click, I'll come to copy. I want to copy this from this spot right here. I'll snap on that spot, then I'll move up to the point I marked as my first spot for my thread. I'll snap right here. I'll snap right here. Perfect. Now once I'm done with I've done that, I want to create a similar thing. I want to come to edit here. I want to come to edit. I want to come to edit, then come to points. I want this point to end to go straight to this end. I need a straight point here. I need a straight point there. What I'm going to do, I'll turn this round like that. Then press press Alt. I'll turn this round just to see what I'm doing is right. Then I'll click move. I'll come here and click move. Move from this spot. From this spot to this spot. I'll press this. Though there is a slight clash, which will be rectified as we go on. Now I'll come here and right click and click move once again, and I want to connect. I want to go all the way from this spot to this end. Perfect. Now if I turn this round, you'll be able to see my threads my thread already in that location, but not in the designated position. Turn this round once again, and I'll press Control. Press Control to pick on the bolt. I'll come back and click Move. Then I'll zoom this. I'll come to the midpoint there, that spot, and bring it right there. It has moved. Now if I turn this round, I want to change this. I want to change this. I'm done with that. I'll come to Edit right here. I'll come right here. I'll close that. What I'll do next, I'll come to Edit, then come to Part, Cut. Which part to be cut? I want to cut this. The cutting part is that. That's all I need. Then I turn this round. I'll click on this, right click and come to Move. Snap right here and turn all the way and snap on that end to be supported at that end. Turn that round. Once I'm done with that, I'll click on this. I'll click on this. I'll right click and delete this. Click on this member. Right, click on this member, then come to Move. Special move in what direction? Make sure your XYZ position is in the right position. I'll click on that, come to Work Plane tool, I'll snap on that position back to default. Take it to default position. Then if I zoom out, I'll be able to see the position I intend to populate this. I want to take it in that position of opposite the X direction. I'll come to X here and feed an offset, an opposite direction of 10 millimeter right here, and click Move. That is the position I intend to work with. Now I'll come here and delete that and delete this. Click on this member and just click on the head here and drag it up to that spot. Now I'll delete this, click that, delete, click this, delete, click that, delete, click that, delete, and delete. Once I'm done with this, I'll come to points. I'll come to points right here and come to any position I want to snap right here, snap here, snap here. I want to trim off this part. I'll come to polygon, I'll click on this member, snap right there, snap right here, snap right here, snap right here. I want to remove this part. Perfectly well, but it just picked part of my stringer. I'll get rid of that. I'll turn it this way and come back to polygon. I'll click on this member. Then I want to snap on that spot, snap on this spot, zoom out, target this spot and target that spot and come back to this position, snap right there. That has been trimmed off. So if I right click and redraw, that is what I've created. Now I'll get rid of this. I'll get rid of that member also. by clicking this and copying it in that opposite direction. I'll click right here and move all the way to this end and snap right here and snap right there, snap right there perfectly. Now I'll turn behind of this, then click on this member and delete it. I'll turn this round, I'll right click, click on empty screen, right click and redraw. Perfect. Turn this round, now we want to populate this at a distance 50 millimeter. Come to copy special, and on the y-axis direction, we'll come to y-axis direction, change that to 0. 50 will feed 50 there, and make sure we are in the right position. We'll see the y-axis is facing that direction, so we want to feed 50 millimeter here, and you just need 7 of that. Click OK. 7 is excess of that, so any excess we'll just get rid of that. Then we'll come here and turn this round, and this is our thread already created. Now we'll press Alt and get rid of this member. Turn this round. We've created that member. So what we are going to do is just to populate this along the y-axis, though the support has not been placed. So what we'll do, we'll turn this round and come to control, let me just undo and see what has just happened. I'll undo, and the bolts are back. Perfect. Now I'll press Alt, but not everything is selected. I'll make sure I press Alt, and click on this, that, and this are included in the assembly, in this assembly. Perfect. That's been included. Even the support can be just to be welded on the stringer. Now if I press Alt here, and my axis is aligned on the stringer, I'll come to view here, I'll come to workplane tool, I'll click on the workplane tool right here, right click and click that. So I'll come back to Alt and click on that. I'll right click and give a special move to X direction, to X axis, and click copy. We'll press Alt once again, then right click, then come to special copy. We want this to move in the X direction at that, then click copy. Perfect. Click on that. That has been created. So any excess of this, just press that Alt and we'll delete that. We've created that. We'll undo once again and redo what we've done. We'll press Alt again and get rid of any unwanted part or thread. Perfect. Now we want to create a thread here once again. We'll come to edit right here. We'll come to edit right there, and we'll snap on that spot. After snapping there, we'll click on this spot And following the direction of our work plane tool, we'll snap here. We'll click on the orientation of our stringer. Then we'll click on this spot, right click and give it an offset or a copy command at 300 because our riser height is 300, taking into account how we are designing our thread. Though it is supposed to be 170, it shouldn't be more than 170 millimeter. Now from here I just give a copy, one copy right there, and there we are. I'll come down here, and I want to pick a thread. Here. I want to pick this thread. So I have to locate a point. So I'll come to edit. We are much closer. I have to pick a point here at any position. I want to snap on that spot. Just hover your cursor the bottom end here, and I want to snap again at this spot. Then between the two spots, I want to place a midpoint of the 2 points. I'll snap right here and snap right here. There we are. I'll click that to interrupt. Now this is the point I want to pick my thread from. I'll press Alt, taking into account that everything has been assembled as a unit. Now I'll right click and come to special copy here. I'll come to copy, then pick this. Once I've done that, I want to copy it right here. Perfect. Now I want to change the orientation of my XYZ axis. It's just in the same position. Now what I'll do, I'll press Alt to just select everything. Then I'll right click and come to special copy and click linear. How many? I need 7 of this. I'll click copy and wait for the result. There we are. I'll right click and exit. It has been copied, but any excess of these, just press Alt to select and delete, and come back and press Alt, and we'll delete that. Now don't forget to save your work and turn this around like this. You'll be able to see exactly what you've done. Now if you come at the bottom end here, you'll notice we've omitted one thread. Just press Alt and select everything, and taking into account the direction of your XY axis, we'll click on that, come to special copy here and click linear, and we'll feed here negative and you just need 1 and click copy. There we are. Okay, and click on empty screen, go hit there and save your work, then press Control and turn this around like this. Now we can get rid of these points. Now we'll go now to end plates. We'll come here and type end plate. Just type end plate, right here, end plate 101, this one here. Now we want to connect this member to this member, connect that member to that member, as simple as that. Want to connect that to that, this to this. You want to connect this one to this one, this to that. Then you come here and that to that. and this one to that, and this to this. Perfect. Now we can right click and come to redraw and to refresh everything. Now we want to offset, we want this staircase to go at a distance of 50 or of 60 meters high. Now we'll click on this. We want to first of all change the orientation of our XYZ axis. We'll click on view, then we'll come to work plane tool right here and click and change, place it to a default position right there. Now we want to populate this. We'll click on these columns, and we want to offset them, give them an offset of 6 meters high. Click that, then come to special copy, will come to linear, then Z axis will change to 0, then Z axis will feed 6 meters here, and we just need one of this, one of that. We'll undo, we need 6 meters, not 600 meters, 600 millimeter. We'll click on that. Perfect. Now we want a splice joint here. Now what we'll do, we'll just type a splice on our applications and component dialog box here. Splice, a splice for numerically known as 42. We'll click on this, then we'll snap here and that snap right there. There we are, and I will snap right here, then here, and connect this to that. We'll connect this one also, connect this one to this one. Now we want to populate this up. We'll close this now and right click to redraw everything or to refresh. Now we want to make our columns to a height of our preference, What we are going to do now, we'll select everything here. We'll select everything here. We'll right click and come to special copy, linear, and how many do we want? 6, 6, 6. We need, we already have 2. Now 6 minus 12, we need quite a few. We need 9 there. We'll give it 8. We need 8 of them. Click right there, then it will be copied. There we are. There we are. It has been copied, and we can go ahead and click expand. Right click and give it an OK. So if we check this view, if you come to Windows here and click that view, we can see it has winded up to this height of 57 meters. 57 meters. This is the height we intended this to get to. So this is our height. The first landing is here. Now we'll switch back to isometric view. And we want to now to populate this. We want now to copy all this. We want now to include this and this. This and this to be one assembly. To be in assembly. You add to assembly here. Add that to assembly. So if I press Alt, everything will be selected. Now I want to add also this to this assembly. I'll press Alt, right click and add this to this assembly, and press Alt and add this also to this assembly. So I'll do the same thing. Press Alt. Now we are coming to the last thread. Press that, right click and come to add to this assembly. I'll press Ctrl and turn this round. I'll click on empty screen and I'll come to Alt and press Alt, and I'll right click and come to add to the assembly of my preference. Now the next step, I want to populate all these to the height of 60 meters or 57 meters. Now it is simple. I'll press Alt. Now I'll deselect everything I've done and click on this. And click on that. I'll press Control now to click on these members. Click on that member. Once I've done that, and also I'll pick on this member, pick on that member, pick on that member also, and this one. Now I want to populate this at a height of 60 meters. Now I'll come to Special Copy, I'll come to Linear. Then under Z-axis, I want to change the Z-axis from 6 to 3, and I want 20. Now we want to feed it, make it 20 or 30. Right click, and I'll go all the way and feed 30 right there. Come to Linear, and we want 20 of this. Click Copy, and we wait for the result. Okay, here we are, and we can go ahead and click Expand, and come here and click OK, just to accept what has been done. Okay, that's okay. Then we'll go straight and right click and come to Interrupt, just to deselect everything. Now I'll come here and delete the excess copy. Anything copied in excess, then I'll just highlight everything here, and I'll go ahead and press delete, and it will be gotten rid of. I'll press delete, and highlight everything here and press delete. I'll do the same thing here. Now I've picked the wrong part. I'll select everything right there. Just get rid of anything I don't want. Now I want to extend this member. I'll click on that, press Control, click on that, press Control, click on that, and click on that, the last one. Then I'll come to position here and feed here, and feed here 2 meters, 62 meters right there, and click OK. Perfect. Only one has responded. Click on that, then double click on that, and come to position, then change this to 62 meters. I'll click OK. I'll apply and accept. That's all. That's it. And if I click that, I'll get rid of this. I'll come here and press Control, press Alt, and click on this and delete it. So this is a staircase tower, and this type of staircase is ideal if you've been working in the cement industry, and this normally used in accessing silo tops. Cement silo tops are of high height. Some range from 0 to 100 meters, 0 to 86, 0 to 36. So these are the best staircase tower to access the silo tops. If you are familiar with the cement industry, so this is the best staircase tower to help you get to the top of the very high point of the staircase, of the silo top. Let me just turn this round. I'll press Control, and turn this round like this. I can double click on the screen. Don't forget to save your work. Don't forget to save your work. Now I want to double click on the screen so that you can see various views. At perspective view, I'll click on that. I'll come to modify, then apply. Then I can view it from the top end. I can view it from the top end. I can click plan view. So this is the plan view of this. Change to grid, that grid, and this is how it is seen under this elevation. I'll switch back to my isometric view, and this is what we'll be able to see. Perfect. Now I'll change my view. I'll come to view properties right here, and I'll come to ortho and click modify and apply and accept. I haven't placed the base plate here. Now the base plate will come straight here and come and type n-type base plate, and I'll scroll down to, I'll click here and scroll down to stiffened base plate here, then snap there, right there, snap at the bottom here and here, and I want to set this to the right settings. I'll double click on the base plate. Once I've done that, I'll drag this closer so that I can be able to access the top point of this macro. I'll pick base plate here. You can set this by yourself, then take it up. I'll click modify to accept the settings inside and click OK. Just to close it down, then everything will be just that way. I'll click and do the same thing. I'll click on the macro and do the same thing here. Click on that and click on the bottom end there. Click on that and click on the bottom end here. Then I'll turn this round and click on this and click on the bottom end here. This is what has been created. This is what has been created, and this is what we have now. We'll close this, and thanks a lot for following this channel, and thanks a lot once again for watching this video. If you're new to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. This really motivates us to generate or create more videos or tutorials for anybody wishing to learn Tekla structures, to learn it effortlessly. Welcome in the next presentation, and bye bye for now.